Hi, IDC Church family. Wanted to come to you today with something a little different. We are going to, as part of the series of videos, try to check in with some of our various ministry partners, both locally and around the world. And so today, we're going to be having a Zoom conversation with Gavin and Kelsey, who are some of our members who are overseas. And so we're just going to have a conversation. You guys get to kind of listen in and get an update on what they're doing, where they're at, all that kind of stuff, and just see, in particular, how coronavirus chaos is affecting their lives. And so I'm just going to talk to them, and you guys can listen in. All right, guys, welcome. First of all, let's just do this. Let's set the stage. Why don't you tell everybody kind of who you are, where you're at, what you're doing on a macro level. We'll get to what you're doing in this particular kind of moment in time, but orient everybody to you guys and your work right now.
Yeah, so we're members of IDC, currently serving abroad. So we were part of IDC back within the first year when it started, and was in Wake Forest for a few years. And then we spent 2 years in North Africa studying Arabic with the plan of transitioning to be in France. So that's where we are currently. We live in France, and we're working among North African immigrants that are here with the end of church planning. And so the goal is to contextualize the message of the gospel and reach the community that we live in. So we're currently in the season of language study right now. We've been in France for about 7 months, and we're trying to do language studies in the midst of quarantine right now. So,
Absolutely. So you got there 7 months ago, and the naive thought was that you'll spend a year of just normalcy studying French now, right? That's the focus. So you're holding on to your Arabic, now you're adding French to it. And then how long ago did stuff start kind of blowing up there as far as your lives being affected by recent events?
Yeah, so we were excited to have a season of normal after a lot of transition. We were back in the States for about 10 months, and then we moved here in end of July. And we are grateful, by the way, just that we were able to get settled in our apartment. We have our furniture, so we're not still in transition. We got settled before this all hit, which was a huge blessing. About a week and a half ago, we had a speech given by the president of France announcing that, and it was sort of abrupt, all schools are closed, and that was pretty early on into this. And within the next few days, restaurants closed. And a few days later, gave another speech and said that all residents are on mandatory quarantine for 15 days. So it was pretty accelerated. We were grateful to have, food, and we're not, going without anything. And but it is a pretty aggressive stance in the sense that over the past week and a half, it's military and police enforced lockdown right now. So we have to have a piece of paper to leave the house, and we can leave for one of a few reasons, basically necessary travel, medicine, getting groceries. But other than that, that we're asked to stay in the house. So
now, you mentioned it was like kind of boom, boom, boom. Was there any kind of slow build? Like, did you guys were able to see some of this coming, or was it a pretty quick turnaround when it was like, oh, like France is going to be included too, and then boom, like stay in your house, or was there some middle ground maybe there?
Yeah, I don't really think that there was a build up to it. It was, the talk was the president's going to give a speech, and then we were told, and we're in university right now for our language program. So we were told all of a sudden your language program's canceled, everything's shut down. And that was pretty abrupt. I think up until that week, which was a Thursday, about a week and a half ago, we had just, kind of generally heard that the virus was in Asia and spreading around, but not to that degree. So
right.
A bit of a wake-up call for us and for our team and neighbors.
Yeah, no doubt. Just in terms of circle of friends and people that you guys do know there that you're able to have, I assume electronic communication and everything with, like, how are people feeling, whether it's just neighbors or people you've been doing ministry with, something like that? Are people nervous? Are they freaked out? Are they annoyed? Like, what's the kind of in your immediate circle? What's the sense?
I think pretty stressed. a lot of people, our neighbors in particular, and I think that it's reminded us just with a lot of people that we're in ministry with and things too that have really rough home lives, or there's a lot of abuse going on and things like that. Obviously not in the church, but with people that we're working with, this time frame has been really difficult for them and people that we're talking to, and just situations that they're in with their families. So I think that's been really hard.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be terrifying on some level, just to know what you're being stuck at home with if it's an unhealthy or toxic environment. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that can be pretty common, domestic abuse in the communities that we work in, and so that has been a shepherding and discipling from afar thing that our team has been dealing with. I would say most, French people in general are pretty receiving this well, as far as the quarantine and welcoming the social distancing, because wanting to take this seriously and prevent the spread. And so it hasn't been a controversial issue. It's just been difficult, which I think everybody's experiencing that at this point.
Sure, yeah. So you guys are studying language, and I want to come back around to that in just a second. But I would imagine on some level you're not completely just kind of shutting any kind of ministry down. Like even as you're doing language, you're trying to make disciples and everything. Have any particular rhythms of ministry and sharing or discipling? Has any of that been like pretty disrupted? Did you guys have anything like that going on that you're having to figure out what does it look like to maintain rather than just have everything shut down?
Yeah, I do feel like that's been one of the biggest discouraging blows of this, is just feeling like that momentum has ceased. A lot of our connections, people we're sharing with up to this point were people that we would visit their workplace, or, like a barber that I would go to regularly and speak Arabic with, or, people that we'd interact with through our university programs. So to have those daily relationships cut out has significantly reduced the amount of ministry that we're able to have, especially with our current language level. I mean, it's hard to speak French in general right now, but trying to do that via the phone or internet just that much more challenging. And so, yeah, but we've been encouraged to hear, reports on how our team is able to continue some of that with the closer relationships that they had. Specifically just things like this with believing families that are on quarantine as well.
Yeah.
And so
ministry
is happening, much like you guys are finding. Just have to be creative. And we've had a little bit of opportunities. One of the things that we're seeking to do in this season language school is just focus on our neighbors and the people that live right around us. And even things that like tensions with kids being loud with our neighbors have come up. And that's an opportunity to rub shoulders, and those ways that we get in each other's lives are opportunities to show Christ. And,
sure.
We're trying to do that. We have left some notes and cookies and tried to talk to our neighbors a little bit. So
meaning our kid was loud.
Yeah, our child.
I was gonna clarify. I didn't know which side of that exchange you guys were on.
The wrong side.
We were the ones that have gotten complaints. He's doing great, but it's hard.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So you guys have a little girl, Luisa, and tell us about her, how old she is, what her maybe normal life looks like outside of shutdown, and then what does it look like now? Does she go to school?
Okay. Yeah, Louisa's 4, and in France at 3, starting this year, kids are required to go to full-time school. So she goes to school 4 days a week, full day. So it's quite a different, obviously, rhythm for any kids. I know in the States and all over the place now too, with schools being canceled. But she's super social, and I don't think a month or a few months off, even however that will pan out, will affect her French too much, because she's still speaking a ton of French to us. But I definitely am thinking like this has been a huge transition for her, to move here and start a new language and everything. And she's gotten in a great rhythm. So I think that is, something to think about. But she's doing really well at home. She loves to learn and play on her own. So she doesn't have like a built-in friend. There's no siblings yet or anything for her. So I think about that for her, but she's doing really well.
So she normally likes school, Is that correct? But she doesn't get to go, but she's still doing okay. You guys are her new like play friends throughout the day, that kind of thing.
The unfortunate thing is her best friend from school lives across the hall from us, and so she'll hear her and they talk through the door to each other. But
they can't get there.
Trying to explain her that
Wow.
they can't have any interaction. So
absolutely, there's like a sermon illustration in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Need to go like old school and get the cans or the cups with the little string in between, and they can just mumble to one another or something like that. Yeah. Okay, so she's home all day with you guys now. Normally she's at school and you guys are doing language, correct? Now she's home. You guys are you stopped language completely, or what does it look like to try to redeem the time for you guys right now?
Yeah, no, we have not stopped language. I think the country is scrambled with the announcement of schools closing for what to do. Our university, that's what we chose to do for a language program, is enroll in a French university. They were quick to announce there will be no refunds and we will be switching to online classes.
Yeah.
So that's been an adjustment.
We're going to say the same thing about tithes and offerings at IDC. No refunds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep the money flowing, I guess. So that's been a challenge to adjust to that, but we're grateful that we're able to continue to study. And so what that looks like for us, like you said, normally she would be in school for periods of the day, and we'd have that freedom to be able to study or even have a little bit of time together. And so right now we're kind of on 5-hour shifts, 10-hour day of class switch, watching Luisa. So one of us is playing with her, the other one's studying, and then we switch off. So
lots of Uno or something like that.
We're not really identifying with this quarantine experience of having tons of free time,
right?
Getting bored, but it's good because we didn't want to lose that momentum of studying.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay, can you guys speak a little bit just about how you're doing, how you're handling this, whether this is just kind of emotionally, spiritually, whatever you're comfortable sharing? What does it look like for you guys while you're? I mean, I would say for your lives already, there's so much mental and emotional energy that's just being exerted on an average day. These are not average days. So how are you guys holding up? And you can maybe wrap into that just like ways that the church family can be praying for you guys while you're kind of on lockdown. Anything in particular that we can be lifting you guys up for?
Yeah, I'll start. So we want to always try to be honest and candid about where we're at with our family, and we consider IDC our family. But that also, we know there's a lot of people in the world right now that have much more serious situations than we do. So we want to start with just saying that we are, at the end of the day, grateful that we have a stable place to be. We have health. We're with each other. We're not alone. We have teammates that are single that have had to kind of weigh out some of this. So there's a lot to be grateful for, but the reality is that for us, this new season of unknown and adjustment is one of many after another that we've dealt with. With transitioning out of North Africa, being in the States, homeless for 10 months, being back here, trying to get settled. So it wasn't something that we were excited to have a change to the normal. We were pretty discouraged. So I think the first few days was accepting that reality, and it has been discouraging. But I think that we've started to look at it as more of a opportunity just to be with one another and to reimagine, what our life's going to look like together in France and set new rhythms and patterns as a family. And so we're trying to stay there with it, and also just trusting that if the Lord wants us to have this season of less commotion and leaving the house. I mean, it is stressful to leave the house and try to speak French. As much as we wanted to keep that going, there's grace in that for us to have down periods and time together. So I want to say that I think personally it's been discouraging, but it's also been something that we're just receiving. I mean, we don't have an option, but we are receiving it gladly, knowing that this is what the next step looks like. So
I would just add that we've been talking about this a lot, even with some other ministry partners that IDC has around the globe, that it's so interesting to go through like a global crisis in another country, in another culture, because I think even though it's difficult, if you're in your own home culture, there's some like normalcy or like comfort to that. Like, oh, we're doing this together as a people and going through this together. And so it's been kind of weird to do that in another country, another language, where we're like watching the president's speeches and like hoping we're understanding everything and like, feeling that stress of like making sure we're really understanding what's being asked of us to do, and also trying to perceive like how are the French or other or even Arabs in this country like taking these things and viewing it. But I think it's a good opportunity too to learn about people. And I've been really encouraged we've done a lot of balcony watching, and just to see like so many people on their porches with their family, like around the table, playing cards, talking, like the Lord has really brought to mind for myself personally. I think for us as a family, just so many things to be grateful for. Like, and I don't say that in a cliche way, but really like He has brought so much gratitude to my heart for, actually being able to go out on a walk or to engage with someone else. Like I have such more of a desire and a motivation to do that now that I'm not able to do it, or just like enjoying fresh produce and things that I know I just took for granted.
Sure.
And when those things seem sparse or whatnot, I think that the Lord really has been bringing those things to mind, and really just a desire for a deeper prayer life when I can't engage with the actual people, just being, whether it's for people that don't know Him or even in our home, just engaging with Luisa. And I'm sure as many other parents are feeling right now, just, our impatience and things like that are surfacing. They were already there, but are surfacing more as they're prodded, and just seeing constant need and dependence on Him more than I normally would.
No doubt.
Past, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for sharing that, and just know that, I mean, what you're saying kind of hits home on some level for us as well. Like I'm sitting here thinking we're about to be completely locked down and everything like that. It's all going to be stripped away. And you guys are even reminding us like, no, there's more that can be stripped away. At least you're kind of in your home context. You can understand the announcements that are being made, all that kind of stuff. At the same time, we're just really encouraged by you guys' faithfulness and willingness to take on many sacrifices when you were sent out. Some of them, many of them, probably you weren't even aware of at the time, like this. And so thank you for really exhibiting faithfulness to the Lord. And then also just know that we will be praying for you guys, lifting you guys up, just as you mentioned, that this gives us an opportunity to remember how much prayer is a part of the work. So even as you guys pray for the ministry and the folks around you, we will continue to do our part of the work, which is to hold you guys up and just bring you in our prayers to the Lord, knowing quite well that He is strong and able to sustain you guys, and He's still faithful. And so we just really appreciate the partnership that you guys have, even taking the time today. Really thank you for staying up late and talking with me. And who knows, depending on how long this thing carries out, we might be circling back around and hear from you guys again. But in the meantime, please reach out if you guys need anything, okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We just want to say we love you guys. IDC family, we miss you. And we're grateful for you. We've been tuning in on Sundays and getting to worship virtually, just like you guys are.
Absolutely. You're completely one of us at this point when it comes to Sunday worship. That's correct. So good. IDC family, thank you guys so much. Please be praying for Gavin and Kelsey and for Luisa and for the situation there in France, and pray that on the back end of all this, the Lord opens wide an opportunity for the gospel to go forward. Thanks. Have a good day.